welcome back to Enterprise Vibe Code. Let me start with something that may be uncomfortable for people who are excited about AI agents. Software engineering principles didn't change, not even a little. What changed is the speed at which we can violate them. Agents didn't invent new problems, they just removed the friction that used to slow bad habits down. And now those habits compound at machine speed. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Past a certain point, all code is legacy code. This is my first time running through this, so this is all meta AI generated monologue AI. So here's the uncomfortable truth. All past a certain point, all code is legacy code. 6 months from now, even the original author doesn't remember why this function exists, why that flag is inverted, or why that one retry loop is set to 37. Shoot. Okay, yeah. All right. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Past a certain point, all code is legacy code. 6 months from now, even the original author doesn't remember why this function exists, why that flag is inverted, or why that one retry loop is set to 37. And that was true before agents. So if your process relied on I'll remember later or I'll clean this up eventually, agents didn't break your system, they just exposed it. This is why guardrails matter more now, not less. Version control, yeah. Sorry. Okay. So, yeah. This is why guardrails matter more now, not less. Version control, small reviewable changes, clear ownership, tests that explain intent, not just assert outcomes. Documentation that survives human memory loss. Agents are not senior engineers. They're extremely fast interns with perfect confidence and zero accountability, which means the process is the product now. If your system assumes every contributor understands global context, it will collapse. If your system assumes that humans will catch everything manually, it will collapse. If your system assumes speed replaces structure, it will collapse. The irony is this: the more powerful our tools get, the more boring and disciplined our engineering has to become, because scale doesn't forgive vibes, it only respects systems. Okay, so that was like my AI generated monologue here. We're drinking Dutch Bros. And now, if you're not familiar with the stream, I read off some things just to, I don't know, set the context. And then, yeah, I'm just here to clip farm for the for the first 10, 15 minutes and say things, and hopefully they sound cool with cool visuals. So software engineering didn't change. We just have a massive scale of engineers that we're not used to now. Agents just remove the friction. Like the friction, the main thing was hands on keyboard, writing new lines of code, advancing the ball. If we're using a sports analogy here, like agents can instantly come up with code and make us quote unquote more productive, right? They can write more code and get more things done. We just have to get better at corralling them. And that's a skill issue on us. Like that's not an issue with agents. Like we have to think about this in terms of what do we have control over, and if now the competition is who can use agents the best, our what we can control, our skill set is now how do we get more experience managing what agents produce. The provocation, so controversial. Yeah, AI agents didn't invent new problems; they just made it easier to create old ones faster. Exposes weak systems. So it's as if we're running a performance test, a performance like stress test against our software engineering principles, our systems. It's as if we are scaling from a team of 3 engineers that everyone's a senior, we're in a small team and everyone knows everything and everybody can kind of cover each other. We're scaling up from that small of a high trust team into an organization of 100 engineers, and nobody knows anybody, right? Like everyone's writing more and more code, and somehow we have to merge all these changes together with high confidence. And that's just like within one person, right? Like we can, the idea is that we can create so much more code now, probably 10x conservatively per person, and up to 100x over this next year, like depending on how models work and how the advancement of all these orchestration tools are going to happen. It is now a stress test. Like the process and the systems around software development are the limiting factor. They are the constraint. It's not the code itself. It's how do we make sure all this code doesn't break? And how do we scale to 100 engineers for a team of 3? Like the processes and the high trust that we kind of, each engineer on a team of 3, we kind of trust implicitly of just like, oh, hey, yeah, so-and-so knows what he's doing. Bob knows what he's doing. Joe knows what he's doing. Like we can all kind of, if we all review each other's PRs and we kind of say, all right, we all know how these systems work. We kind of trust each other's judgment on certain things and we review it and we ship it, versus a brand new, like completely out of the blue 100 engineer team. How do we make all those engineers work together, right? Like kind of, they're all hired at once. Nobody's a senior. How do we start to work in that kind of environment, right? And that's kind of where we're at, is like we have to have a process. We don't know each other yet. So this is like a crazy stress test of like, there's a new startup with crazy amounts of funding, and they just hired 100 engineers to start all on day one. What is the process to merging everyone's code and figuring things out? So what actually changed? Code is cheap, mistakes compound, change is constant, feedback shrinks. Yeah. So cost structure software shifted overnight. So yeah, basically cost of generating code goes to 0. Like we can generate as much code as we want. And kind of the interesting business problem now is like product market fit matters way more now, or like it always mattered, but like that is now the constraint on, say, the business side. Say if you're a solo developer, like somebody who's vibe coding an app, like you can generate all the features yourself. You don't need to hire an engineer. The constraint now is like, okay, you can now focus on, all right, let me deliver what my customers want, even more, right? But at the same time, like you need to be aware of how your code is evolving over time. Even though you don't particularly care how it's written, what's in it, you still have to be able to massage it into a particular path, a particular way that actually works, right? Like you don't want to make a change. Like you don't want to be like sweating every change and be like, oh shoot, am I going to break this whole system on this new PR, right? You want to instill confidence in your software process. So that's why I'm emphasizing all these enterprise guardrails. That's why this is called enterprise vibe code. We're emphasizing the process. We're emphasizing, okay, a team of 10 engineers is going to work differently than a team of 100 engineers, a team of 1,000 engineers. So the uncomfortable truth with that is that, do you remember what you wrote 6 months ago? I bet you don't. Like, unless you've done it recently, unless you've changed that file recently, you don't know what you wrote 6 months ago. Like if you worked on a super important module, super important code, and it just works, right? Like you wrote the tests, you did a really good job, you worked and created this, whatever, say a masterpiece. It just works, right? And you don't touch it for 6 months, you forget how that works. You don't know every single detail. And people are talking about like, oh, like are getting, I don't know, getting all rung up about like, oh, nobody, like I read an article recently, it's like, oh, you have epistemic debt in code. And I just feel like we're, sorry. Okay. Yeah, with like there's going to be epistemic crisis in like coding debt, like epistemic debt in code. So nobody knows, like nobody's going to know what the code is like, but that really is just what the state of the code is today, 6 months from now, right? Like if nobody worked on your team on a particular piece of code in 6 months, they're going to forget all about it. They're going to have maybe notions of how it worked, but they're not going to know what every line does, right? And maybe they refresh their memory once they look at it again. But at the same time, like it's, I don't know, you have a much faster intern who, like in AI, that can read all the code, understand kind of what the intent, like you can say, hey, it should work like this, because like you can give it the intent. You can tell it, hey, the intent was to do X, Y, and Z. But it's now doing A, B, and C. And it can go and change that, right? So I think people are putting more like importance, because it's their job, right? Like people identify with their jobs, and people think that they are more important than they are. Everyone does, right? Like everybody thinks, oh, I'm so important, I'm irreplaceable or whatever. Really, these tools are gonna like that's going down, right? Like if your understanding of the code is so important, why are companies doing layoffs, right? Like the end product is the code. And I like this like analogy, or the saying is that the ultimate documentation is the code. The ultimate tribal knowledge is the code that is left over. Like, yes, you lose institutional knowledge, and like if companies are doing layoffs and they're like whatever, cost cutting and all that, yeah, you lose some tribal knowledge or whatever, but that's clearly they don't value it, right? Like that's the uncomfortable truth. I'm hanging on the slide here because like we have a lot of feelings about our work and how we relate to our work. And how we like unfortunately, like Elon Musk, I freaking disagree with everything that he's probably ever done, right? Like he has some amount of positive outcomes for humanity, like in terms of electric cars and whatever, but and whatever, autonomous driving potentially. But at the same time, like he showed that he took Twitter public, cut 90% of the staff, 80% of the staff, 90% of the staff, who knows? And it's still running. Like it didn't like crash and like completely fizzle out, right? Like all these problems are overcomable. Like all the original people who were there at Twitter left, and somehow the Twitter is still operating, right? Like it's still the same thing. It's more or less the same product with completely new people operating the company. So we're less important. So I guess it's a ship of like Theseus. I forget what the what the actual ship of Theseus, where like we like Elon literally ran into this experiment of like, all right, I'm gonna buy this company, keep all the code, keep all the assets, but then like basically turn over everyone inside of the company. I'm gonna slash headcount. I'm going to completely turn over all the prior institutional knowledge, and basically have a big, like whoever's left is on H-1B and kind of has to stay there, and like unfortunately it's like indentured servitude, and that's not like a controversial take. It's like H-1B is a terrible program, like yes, or it's a terrible, like puts people in terrible circumstances. Like I wish we wouldn't, I don't know, people who are on the program, if they get laid off, they have like a year. I wish there was like a year like grace period or something, rather than like a couple months, whatever it is. But basically, Elon did a ship of Theseus where he bought a company and then gutted it. All the code and all the systems, all the infrastructure is all still there, turned over the people, and now it's the same product, right? So getting back to AI generated code, when people say, oh, we're going to forget all about what the code means, I'm like, yeah, we do that already. Like we do that with layoffs. Like, sorry, like your institutional knowledge doesn't mean much. Like doesn't mean much to the business, right? The CEOs, the decision makers. Your institutional knowledge ends when you write that code. Like that is the product that you are building. That is the service you are providing as a employee. That is the artifact you are leaving. And ultimately the code is the documentation. Like documentation lies. I think I am anti-documentation because it gets out of date, right? Because we don't update it with every code change. And ultimately, like the documentation like isn't the code. Like if you think it's like a different whatever, it's more human readable or whatever, it's like, well, make the AI read the code and then have it tell it you, right? Like it's not the code itself. Documentation lies. So where does this leave us? Like hopefully this shows that we are replaceable. Like we are very replaceable. We've always been replaceable, and AI, like we are not special in this process. Software engineers aren't. There's a reason why they can cut like 10% of us and be fine. In Twitter's case, 80%, and it's fine, right? It more or less works the same. Legacy isn't high problem. Yeah, so like it's not a whatever. Like we any code is legacy if enough people forget about it. So like the same thing. People get laid off, people leave. Code is already old. Like as soon as you write it, if someone else looks at it, it's legacy to them, right? Where teams get this wrong, yeah. So yeah, basically we need to make sure it's a house of cards. I didn't even realize that. We need to make sure that if we are moving forward with, all right, nobody's going to like really understand the code moving forward. If nobody's really going to understand every line, and nobody does, like nobody understands how every line works. It's always a team of people who need to understand. Now that team includes AIs, includes agents. We need to have a process. We need to have a structured way to engage with this. So yeah, multiply the need for guardrails. They need to understand what the code is, right? They don't feel production incidents. They don't like wake up. They don't get waken up. Like they don't sleep or whatever. So we need to guard people, and no context. Like it's a stateless thing. Like we spin up an agent and tell it a problem, and then it closes down. So they execute instructions, not judgment. Think intern at infinite speed. So process is the product now. So this is super important, that everyone needs to have, like, really think about their process, really understand process is the thing that we do now. We are process engineers. We aren't code engineers. We are still software engineers, but we are not code wranglers. We are not manually typing code. That is, like, I think I'll never type another line of code again. Unless there's something, actually I did recently. I had to fix, I was making a lead magnet PDF, and that was based on like HTML code, and I kind of wanted to edit a couple things of just kind of like styling things, just kind of where things lined up on the page. And yeah, I edited code manually there, but I didn't generate that code. I didn't pull that out of my head and was like, oh, I need to generate this PDF. It's like, it did it, right? And that took way less time than it would have if I did it myself, right? Is that AI slop? Well, I corralled it into kind of a good looking PDF, and people are downloading it. So I don't know, like that's my idea of my job now, is like I'm a slop engineer. Like I'm so actually this is much better analogy is like Steve Yegi. He's like my North Star of like he's done the most vibe coding out of probably anybody outside of like the Claude Code guy, who's like also on a generational run. He is saying, like, Steve Yegi, he mentioned this somewhere in his, like, he has like art Substack articles and stuff, or Medium articles. I forget where he's at. But Steve Yegi says that engineering is the process of taking unreliable inputs and making reliable outputs. Like, ultimately, engineering is making this box that takes unreliable inputs and making reliable outputs. And I just thought that was so profound. And it's something that really makes me proud to be like this is a human endeavor. This is what we've always done as humans. We took an unreliable process of fire, and now we heat our homes, right, with it. Like we figured out how to harness fire and make it work in like pistons in our cars, right? And that drives those cars forward. Mini explosions power our cars and drive them forward. And in reverse too, right? So engineering, like, and water is like unreliable, right? Like or air, or like think of all the like the elemental things, like the physical things that we deal with, the literal elements. We are taking these elements and understanding them and processing them in such a way that they produce reliable outputs, right? Like we even see things at like the quantum mechanical level where shit's unreliable. Like things can pop in and out of existence, but we literally rely on electrons popping from one side of a transistor to another in order to do something, right? Like that's what I learned at Cal Poly in computer engineering. In my electrical engineering classes, we rely on the quantum effects from electrons popping in and out of existence every day in all of our devices, in all of our computers. That is what we rely on. Even though it's statistical, it's non-deterministic, we somehow corral these things into a system that produces a reliable output, such that I am talking to you right now on the internet and you're receiving this from wherever you are, and it is all kind of like, it all shouldn't work together, right? Like it all really is, one could say, slop on top of slop on top of slop on top of slop, but it's engineered. Like it's processed in such a way that it is made reliable. So I think that's where we are at with AI slop, is that it's this new layer that we need to deal with, and we need to literally process like ultra processed food in that way, same sense. We need to process it. We need to run it through a black box that is made from our understanding of the thing and produce reliable outputs on the other side. So I think we are in early days of this. We are very early, and nobody's an expert on this yet, save for the guys I mentioned earlier. So all of us, it's a skill issue on us to process this quote unquote slop into something that is reliable and useful. I do not believe that manually coding is going to be a viable form of coding moving forward. Maybe it'll take a year, maybe it'll take 2 years, maybe it'll take 5 years. But by default, code is going to be produced by these agents. And it is on us. It is a new skill. I know it is scary that suddenly everyone is set back to zero in this new world of AI agent produced code. And that is a new skill set, and some people are embracing it and some people aren't embracing it. This video, just whatever, if you're here, if you're on Enterprise Vibe Code, you're probably pretty open to this. So this is something that I feel like we need to all like understand this together, and we need to create a new form of understanding, a new process, a new approach, new like training around this thing, because it is a completely different way of producing code. Oh, I am riffing for a long time here. 30 minutes. All right. So anyways, so why I am excited about process as a product now is because it reminds me of coaching. So like I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a brown belt, which is like, 4 out of 5 belts. I'm I'm almost to black belt, probably. Who knows? Like, I'm whatever. I've done jujitsu for 13 years now, so I kind of know what I'm looking at with what looks like a good technique and what's a bad technique, or fundamentally how things should be. And we literally just went through this in jiu-jitsu, this whole like crisis of meaning in jiu-jitsu. What it means to be a coach is no longer knowing details. That's like the last thing that's important about being a coach, is like giving people step-by-step instructions, explicit instructions. Oh, you got to do step 1, 2, 3 in order to get an armbar, or get a triangle, or to sweep them. It's fulfill conditions A, B, and C. It's not explicitly move your arm here, move their arm there, move your leg here. Like, all that falls apart against resistance. All of the static drilling just completely falls apart. All the katas, like you see in karate and whatever, like Karate Kid, like how they statically drill things, all that falls apart. What really matters is how your technique holds up against resistance, against a resisting opponent who knows what you want to do. Like, if you're in a competition, both of you know what you're trying to do to the other one, right? Like, you're both like trying to figure out things. Like, you're both trying to figure out how you can get the edge on the other guy. So you're not. Anyways, how does this relate to AI coding? The new coaching revolution in jiu-jitsu is the constraints-led approach. And this happened in ice hockey. This has happened in all kinds of other sports previously, where all the traditional coaches were in an uproar of like, oh, we've always done it this way. We've always done explicit instruction and always told our players exactly what to do given A, B, and C situation. How can you throw out all of tradition and then just kind of guide things along with constraints towards a goal? How can you just like not know anything? Well, it's not knowing anything. It's, we are guiding things given the good principles that we know towards, like, within a solution space towards a good outcome. We don't care what it looks like. We don't care how what the technique looks like. We don't care what the code looks like. We just care about the outcome. That's exactly, we are coaching these AIs just like we do in jiu-jitsu, just like we do in virtually all other sports. Soccer, ice hockey, all the professional level sports don't use this static drilling thing, or all the, at least the major ones. They have kids play small-sided games. They have, or the professionals, at whatever layer of like level of coaching that you're at, you try to constrain the surface area of the problem to just the thing that you want to work on. You don't care about anything else. You don't care about like the entire field of play. You're like, all right, let's just work on this, working out of the corner, like a corner kick in soccer or whatever, right? Like or let's work on like 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 or whatever, right? Like ice hockey, like all these things have gone through this like evolution of traditionalists bemoaning this new technique, the constraints-led approach, because they feel like their power and influence are slipping away, because it really questions, like I was talking about earlier, what is your purpose? What is your meaning? Like, your identity is in being a coach and knowing everything. If your identity is in being a programmer and knowing all the syntax of every programming language, but now you're being told that doesn't matter anymore. It's like, what? Like that's very upsetting. Like, you feel like you've invested all of your time and energy and like your identity in being the smartest boy in the room, or girl, or man, woman, whatever, right? Like you invested all this time into knowing the most. Like there's knowledge of and knowledge about. So knowledge, you know about coding the most because you read about it, you live and breathe it, and you're like, you're so deeply involved in it. You love every aspect about it, but the knowledge of the process, the actual doing of the thing is changing. So your knowledge about is still valuable. We still need to know things about programming, but your knowledge of the doing of the thing is changing, and it's uncomfortable. And it's like, oh shit, like the thing I've invested so much time in and that I identify deeply in is changing. That may mean my identity is changing. That may mean like I feel things like I'm being left behind. And that's okay. Like we just have to admit that, right? Like I feel like I just recognize this pattern because we literally just went through it in jiu-jitsu. Like there's no other reason why I would like have read like this ecological approach, constraints-led approach thing, unless we went through it in jiu-jitsu. We went through this freaking reckoning in jiu-jitsu about what a coach's role is. It's the same thing in software development. We are going to go through a reckoning about what a software developer's role is, because it's going to upset a lot of people, and we need to just be open about it and just be like, all right, this is it's the book. It's actually a very short book. Who Moved My Cheese? People, I forget who it's by, but it's a very famous like business book. And TLDR, the mice like go and every day they go through a maze and they go get a bit of cheese and bring it back to wherever they're living. And once the cheese is gone, the cheese is moved, the mice who are more adaptable like go and venture the maze and try to find it, versus the mice who are like static, who are like, oh, the cheese was always here and should always be here, and I'm not going to move. I'm not going to like try to find new cheese, right? So we need to recognize when our cheese has been moved and where our bread is being buttered and what we're going to be expected to do. And in this changing environment, like clearly nobody's an expert yet. Like maybe a dozen people are like the visionaries, like people at the head of this like vibe coding thing. And I don't know. I'm not, it's not like I don't know anything, but it's not like I know everything, right? Like I'm somewhere in the middle, somewhere in between that. But I'm recognizing, hey, this is a completely new territory for us, and we need to be adaptable. We can't just say, oh, it's always been this way, and should always continue to be this way. And like, that's not engineering, right? Like engineering is always changing. It's just this fundamental unit of engineering is changing for us. This, who is writing the code? We thought we would always be writing the code, but now it's the AI is writing the code. So it's like, it's this additional layer of abstraction that we need to kind of come to terms with, and what that means for us as professionals. Okay, so I think this live stream is just going to be me ranting. We'll do a little bit of work here, but word breaks first without structure, global refactors without clear intent, silent behavior. It worked yesterday. Chaos is a process failure, not a tooling failure. So, yeah, we need like process more than ever. We are process engineers now. We are not coding engineers. We are software engineers. Software has always been about encoding the process in machine code, right? In machine readable things. Like that's all computers do, right? Like the CPU only understands instructions, right? Like we are encoding our intent for how data should flow through the system through code. And that goes whatever down through the whole stack into electrons, and then goes up through the whole stack on somebody else's computer and is presented as data. All that has been an exercise in process. The code is just the means to that end, encoding that process. Now we just need to manage the process around the code. That's the much more important thing. That's the much more like real thing that we need to do. That is going to be the biggest lever that we can pull moving forward. Scale doesn't forgive vibes. The more powerful our tools get, the more disciplined we must become. This is a regression in its maturity. So, let's see. More disciplined we must become. Sure. So, yeah. Not confident. Skill doesn't care how sure you are. Not speed. Skill doesn't care how fast you hit. Not novelty. Only respects systems. So, yeah. So this is, I don't know why this just feels like a whole confluence of things that I've been exposed to, that I am been a fan of, reader of, Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. I haven't followed them. Like, I haven't read it in a while. I haven't like listened to his podcast in a while or whatever, but like the principles don't change. Like I don't need to be current on Jocko Willink to like understand that like extreme ownership is you want to own everything that you have possibly can have control over. And that is, for us, that is our process. And his other saying is discipline equals freedom. So if we are disciplined with what in the space that we can control, we have the freedom and flexibility to do whatever we want within that constraint, right? Like he calls it dichotomies, like these different things. Like there's one end of the spectrum and then another end of the spectrum. And through being like rigid on certain processes, we can have the freedom to create whatever we want with AI and vibe coding. So I think that's kind of like my thoughts around my ultimate thoughts around this is that if we can instill great processes, we can create whatever we want within those processes. And we can be confident in changing the code with whatever, with whatever tooling. Like the tooling can change, but as long as we stick with our processes, which has always been there, which has always been the case, it's just we've relied on engineering skill. We've relied on coding, human coding skill to pick up the slack, right? Going back to the engineering black box, there's inputs, there's a box, and then outputs. So we've used engineering talent, engineering skill to massage the inputs of code in order to create, like, the code goes in, the system is the black box, and reliable output comes out. We've pre-massaged the inputs with our human generated code that goes into the system, and output, like, comes out as whatever business value coming out, right? So we're now the input is AI generated code, and we need to have, like, that's going to be quote unquote slop, right? We need to have the system, this black box in the middle, be able to absorb that code in a reliable way that produces this reliable business output on this other side here, right? Let me actually just create one slide with input, black box, output. So gamma is like how I created this oh. Generate. Just give me a black box. All right, well, maybe it would. I probably could have just Googled black box. Okay, cool. That was easier. Black box. So input created into output, right? So our inputs before were human code, human crafted code, artisanal code, if you will, right? Oh, hey, what's up, chat? Somebody's in the chat. Sorry, I missed you for a while there. Sorry, I was in a whatever, on a roll. Okay. So black box. So we have human artisanal code as an input, and then black box. This is the system, and then output is business value, right? Like customer is paying for something that this code does. This input kind of had this human stage before this of, like, actually this is new. Let's see. Slides, forms, drawings. Really getting into this here. Black box. So we have input, output, right? But really, this had a human pre-processing stage for artisanally creating this code here, right? Before the input, right? So now we're removing that. Like with AI generated coding, this black box has always been taking this human-generated code input, right? Pre-processing slop, if you will. Now we're just giving it slop. The software engineering process is not set up without like it's not how we currently have it. It's not ready to process pure slop, right? We had to previously massage things with humans, right? Pre-process slop. So what does this mean? We need to just work on the process more. Like the process had an assumption, had a built-in assumption, hey, humans were going to generate this code. And we had a certain level of like expectation of that. That was built into our assumptions for this software engineering process black box. So like this is the human generated code. So now instead of human generated code, we're giving it AI generated code, and it's going to break because it didn't have that as an input assumption. This software engineering process, sorry, let me make these lines better. Let me like define my outputs better. All right, so let me run through this one more time. Let me just like, so let me connect this there. Okay. So this is our software engineering process black box. It takes human-generated code and creates business value, right? This is the process. It's not, it's the entire process itself. It's not, notice how I didn't say app here, right? Even though the app is, or service or whatever, is ultimately the thing, is like a submodule within this black box, right? Like we don't particularly care about that though. Like we don't care how the value is generated. The end customer doesn't care how the business value is generated. They just care about, okay, I paid you $10 a month for this app or for this process. I want value out of that. I want the data to be transformed in a certain way that I get value out of it. So our inputs were human generated code. And we just always, this software engineering process black box just always assumed the input would be human generated code. These were tightly coupled, right? This had an implicit dependency on human generated code. Even though we didn't really know that, or like there was no other alternative, right? Or may not even there. But now we have AI generated code, and it's breaking for most people, right? It's vibe coding. This software engineering process black box was not built with AI generated code in mind. This is not, hey, let's go back to that other box. Like this is not a situation where, let's Control Z, let's Command Z and only go back to human generated code. We're not going to do that, right? That's not what this implies. We want to somehow be able to take both inputs for now, where this process, software engineering process, black box, can take both human generated code and AI generated code and create business value, right? Super simple. It's explained in 4 boxes here. But this software engineering process black box has assumptions that are baked in that we only assume that we're only going to take human generated code. As flawed as it is, right? Like the human generated code isn't perfect, mind you. Like people are pitting these, like this dichotomy as like, oh, human generated code is so superior than AI generated code. It's like, have you seen human generated code? Like, have you seen most of it? Have you experienced bugs before? Have we not all had backlog tickets of all the different bugs in the world, right? So human generated code isn't perfect. AI generated code isn't perfect either, but we can generate a lot more of it. And we need to be able to kind of pare it down to its essential elements, right? AI generated code needs a way, or we need to bake something into this process that allows us to take AI generated code and reliably produce business value. Cool. Somebody, Ezekiel 3302 in the chat. I'm live coding a Sudoku style game. Do you want to see it? Sure. Post the link. So anyways, I think this is like a pretty fundamental like thing. I'll post black box. Like this black box, we need to soup this black box up by 100x to 1000x. But good thing we can use AI generated code to soup this process up, to really install crazy guardrails to keep up with the amount of AI generated code that we're going to have. So anyways, Scale doesn't forgive vibes, it only respects systems. So that's like my, I don't know, what am I in? An hour in of just talking about the thing, like knowledge about, like I'm just talking about this. And I think this is as clear as I can get of like, engineering is the process of taking unreliable inputs. These are unreliable inputs, both of them. This is engineering, and producing reliable outputs. I think that this is as simplified as I can make it. We don't care where these come from. Ezekiel has a long way to go, just starting. Okay, no worries. These inputs are unreliable by default. Humans are not perfect. People need to stop acting like human generated code is perfect in some substantially better way, right? Like it has its flaws too. AI generated code also is not perfect in any way, by any means, but we can generate a lot more of it. How do we use this software engineering process black box to corral it? How do we create pipelines around this to reliably create business value? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But anyways, that's what I got today. Yeah, I think that I might just keep it short and sweet here. And all this coding stuff, I guess I'll show you guys. I was working on this project earlier called, Ezekiel's saying, took me 3 days to get to this point in my game. Okay. Well, post, if you have a link, feel free to post it. Like, nobody's going to judge here. So yeah, I'm working on this PR or this new project called Kingmaker. I just love coming up with project names. Like, I don't know why. But the idea is that I'm using Opus Clip to like clip up all my videos here, and it has a prompt. Opus Clip. Actually, I just don't care about that one. I just care about this one. Okay. So this is like my Opus Clip like dashboard here, right? And then I come in here, and then I say, like, I can say schedule, and there's this AI generated this prompt that I can change here, right? So I want to generate, like, have a service that generates this prompt based on the top, like, oh, I don't know if YouTube is deleting my GitHub link. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I haven't been seeing it. Let me go to actual YouTube and see if I can see it there. Like, let's see, live chat. Open panel. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of new to this thing. Feel free to DM me on Instagram on Enterprise Vibe Code if you're on Instagram, and we can chat there. Or if you use like a URL shortener, potentially like tiny URL, maybe that'll get by YouTube. I don't know. But anyways, the this Kingmaker project I'm working on, I want to kind of mimic, so like that's how I'm, like, my authentic voice. Like, nobody cares about it right now, right? Like, I've gone back and forth like, oh, like, should I be authentic and like try to be creative, or like play the game and like kind of chase where people are, where meet people where they're at, with these like descriptions and titles and clickbaity type of things. So if you don't like the advice, don't judge a book by its cover, right? People judge books by covers all the time. Like, there's a reason why there's a book cover business, right? There's book cover designers. You need to have a good cover. Like, you need to have a good thumbnail. You need to have a good title. You need to have a good description. And I am not good at that. Like, I'm not totally sure if that's like a skill set I want to invest in. So I'm going to have AI do it, right? Like, I want to have my Kingmaker like look at all the AI related YouTubers and look at their titles, their descriptions, all that kind of stuff, and then create a prompt that generates that in Opus Clip for me. I think I'm kind of tuckered out from explaining all this, like all this other stuff that I was talking about earlier. But all right, maybe I'll go through one PR for us. So just to show this, like, what this is doing here is that it's going to let's see, what is this doing here? Conversation, add mode, metadata, generate LLM, power create, niche flag for content, niche specification. Yeah, so we're like in the middle of like doing all this stuff. Okay, so anyways, I'll have please review. So I have a review kind of, let's see. I have all my different agents review PRs. So I'll have it review this one. I'll have it review this one. And then I'll review this one. And I'll have this. Allow. Okay. So I like having all these different agents work on this because these are all like different perspectives. Yep. Okay, cool. And all this kind of, and all these can, the idea is that I'm using Steve Yeagy's beads, the beads framework, and all of them are in the current directory for the current project directory. And they are looking at the beads, like what currently is being worked on, right? Like the agent issue tracker, and how does this PR match up with that issue? And then like, does this do what it says it will do? And then it'll comment on the PR as if it were an actual like PR reviewer. So we're kind of building in we're building in the code review process into this into our process. It like this is the software development process taken up to 11, right? We are having multiple different models, multiple different agents go through who understand what is supposed to be done, comparing it to the code that is there, and then giving options, giving opinions on, hey, this is what should be done for X, Y, and Z. Okay, Gemini reviewed, retry logic. Oh, nice. Has hooks package, create maintenance risk. Nice. So we've got essentially 4 different code reviewers reviewing this, right? It's Claude, it's Codex, it's Gemini, and it's Claude, but through Augie. So Augie is a cool, interesting agent where it uses an index that kind of whatever. It understands your code base as soon as it starts up, right? Like it has like a database with all your code in it, so it can query that, and it's supposed to save on context and generate better understanding of your code base. So, okay. Codex generally seems to take longer, but it also may have deeper insights, maybe. I'm not sure. Does this have MCP list? Oh, I need to configure Gemini to use Augie as well. Maybe I'll do that while Codex is working. Yeah, because it's a useful MCP server to have. Please use MCP server. Oops. Oh, expose my YouTube API key. Oh no, Google. Google API. Delete. So that's the that is the risk of live streaming your coding, is because there was a YouTube, yeah. So Gemini was searching through stuff and then was like, oh, hey, here's your freaking YouTube API key and like in the allowed permissions. And yeah, I had to delete that really quick. So yeah, you guys can't hack me now, but that's a risk that I'm running with live streaming my coding. But it just keeps things interesting, keeps me on my toes here, right? So I'm showing good security hygiene in real time and showing, oh shit, like I have this API key exposure, I need to go freaking delete it. So anyways, okay, so Codex gave a code review. So everybody gave a code review on Kingmaker. My process is to have my daily driver handle addressing all the comments. So I have my kind of thought process is that my daily driver is like my primary way of interacting with the code. I'm very used to what Claude outputs and how it works, right? But I still want the kind of perspective of all these other ones, like all these other models. So I have everybody comment, all the different models comment on the PR. So how many comments are there? There's 23 comments. So I'm going to have Claude go through all the comments, address them if it's necessary, or give it the option to say, hey, this isn't within the scope of the work. I'm going to kick it out to another issue. Just like a real software engineering process would, right? Like if you have two senior engineers who are reviewing each other's code, you don't necessarily have to do everything that the other engineer tells you to, right? You can just say, all right, hey, this is either in scope or out of scope. I'll kick it out later. I promise I'll do it later. I just want to focus on this particular like scope of this code. So it's making changes where question hooks, numerical patterns, power words. Use hooks, has hook for consistency with a hook detection. Interesting. Okay, cool. Replace custom constraints with, okay, so it's using a standard way instead of custom contain substring helper, and it's using a standard strings.contains. Yeah, so this is all stuff that like would happen in a normal code review. So yeah, it's deleting this helper function, it's responding to feedback, and it's like, oh shoot, that is like a real good kind of way for us to format this code. Add verbose messaging. Okay, cool. Are pre-existing, not related to my changes. Let me verify the build works. Oh, okay. So this is one thing that we need to watch out for with AI agents, is that they're going to say stuff is going to fail, and it's going to be like, it's not my problem. I just want to finish my task. Okay, we're back. I just had an alarm on my phone go off. So right now it's resolving the comments. Okay. All right, it's resolving all these comments. All right, code change is made. It does. All right, so it's like it made 6 code changes based on the feedback, made new issues for future work, and I guess it resolved all the conversations. So, okay, cool, great. Let's merge it. Cool. So it merged, and I think that's where I'm going to stop for today. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate everyone watching live, and look out for this being posted sometime. I mean, it'll be on YouTube, and then clips will start coming out probably tomorrow from this. So, all right. Thank you.